It's my pleasure to call upon Dr. Lungelwa Kaywood from Stellenbosch University. And she's going to be discussing or unpacking the pressures, politics, and pitfalls of the public sector internship. We are very thankful to have her with us. She's a postdoctoral researcher at Stellenbosch University's law faculty, combining over 20 years of practical experience in local government finance, corporate services, and public administration with academic rigor. She holds a PhD in law and development and has held key leadership roles, including deputy city manager of corporate services, where she oversaw strategic planning and governance. As a senior researcher and program manager at Salga, she led municipal finance research and provided strategic policy guidance and guidance to local governments. Her expertise spans budgets analysis, MFMA compliance, and intergovernmental fiscal policy. A published author, Dr. Kaywood has co-edited books on municipal governance and contributed research on South Africa's local government evolution. Committed to mentorship and knowledge sharing, she bridges academia with practice to advance ethical and effective government. Let's put our hand together for Dr. Kaywood.
I did not know that much about myself, But one thing that I see is that I need a professional picture. A colleague of mine saw that on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook. And he said, sisters, I think I need to donate a photo shoot for your professional pictures. So please pardon me for that. I'm sure next time I will have a better picture. Oh, Cleola, what do I say after Cleola? Don't you think that she ate it? I was sitting there. I was sitting there shaking in my booth thinking, now what do I say after that? But I think there's room for everyone. The organizers have crafted this program so well that I think you might be interested in what we have to say in Stellenbosch University. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Sikfaro, it's always a pleasure to be in your platforms. Let me see if, yay, it works. So I'm Lungi Kaywood from Stellenbosch. I work for the Faculty of Law under the Urban Law and Sustainability Governance. I'm a postdoc research fellow. And it is yesterday when I was talking to a colleague from Sikfaro that I realized that I'm actually an intern. How many of you know what a postdoc research fellow does? It's not to embarrass you, just by a show of hand. One. You see, I'm an intern, just like you. At the age of 46, I'm turning 46 end of this month. And my journey, perhaps this is now my personal story. I wanted to do law when I passed matric. That was in 1996. Yes, that's my age. But no, I'm not ashamed. But you know, we have different challenges when we grow up. My daughter 2 days ago, she's in university. She sends me a message. She asks me, Mama, what is amatyotyombe? Any Xhosa person speaking here? What is ityotyombe? She didn't know what is ityotyombe. I had to explain it in isiZulu because now she speaks more isiZulu because she's in the UKZN. That is umjondolo. That's where I grew up. So when I passed matric, that was my circumstance. There was just no way I had imagined that this is where I would end up today. Going back to Cleola, she says, you're not a victim of your life. You are capable of figuring it out. I can't say I figured it out by myself, by my brilliance. I think God plays a role in our journey. You know, you need a little bit of help here and there. I'm taking time because I was told we need to give personal stories, so I haven't yet started. I'm going to take 2 minutes. We need a little bit of help. And the help that I got really came from a municipality. Back in the day when municipalities used to work, as we would want them to work. Buffalo City Municipality, I come from East London, had advertised, at the time, municipalities would advertise opportunities in boards, notice boards around the city. And I came across an advert for a bursary, so-called reconstruction and development bursaries. 1996 is when South Africa is just, second year of democracy. So opportunities were still for everyone then. You have to know someone to get this and that. And I couldn't do law because law was not on the list of the programs that they were going to fund. There was internal audit, there was all these other things. So I chose a national diploma in local government finance. I did not know what it was, but I thought if I choose something that nobody knows, maybe I'll stand a better chance because perhaps people will want to do auditing, this and that. And I got into WUSU, long story short, did my national diploma in local government finance. I was fortunate. I never had internships. At the time when I grew up, they were not so popular, but I was lucky to get an accounting clerk job, the Western Cape Provincial Government. Someone decided to give me a chance, and I am here with a PhD in law. I wanted to do it in 1996. I couldn't do it, but you end up with what you wanted. Sometimes life throws you in a different way. I ended up working in local government. I started off as an accounts clerk. I ended off as a deputy city manager in Umhlatuze. Who's from Umhlatuze? I don't know you yet, but maybe we will chat. Ended up as a deputy city manager in Umhlatuze from an accounts clerk. Never thought that that's what I was going to do. But I am back to being an intern. Because call it midlife crisis or whatever, you then realize there are things that make me happier. Sometimes you're frustrated with your employers because you'd rather be doing something else than what you had studied for. So you need to be adaptable. You need to understand that you as an individual change and respond to the changes that you're experiencing. So I'm starting a whole new career. I'm an intern, proudly so. That's my personal story. I hope it inspires you. I hope that you get to learn that every role that I had taken from when my first job was in 2001. I graduated, I worked before I even graduated CO. I got a job before I even went for my graduation, but every role that I took on, I worked for Treasury, I worked for SALGA, I worked for the different treasuries. I needed to go through that experience. Every role was contributing to where I am today, because I would not have gotten into the university, even with the qualifications that I had, without the experience. They were looking for my experience, my public sector experience, to bridge the gap between theory and practice. Thank you for indulging me. So, I have already done that. I forgot to mention that I teach urban law. I do a lot of research. My focus areas are in financial sustainability of local government, nurtured by SALGA. Focus on municipal debt is just one of the things that I'm interested in. Special inequality, intergovernmental relations, and others, but I just put them in the priority of order. I'm gonna have to get used to that. So, we can't talk about anything. I figured that all the issues that we report in local government, good or bad, we really sometimes have to go back and talk about the history of local government. Where did it all begin? We have a long and complicated history of colonialism in this country, of apartheid. Colonialism followed by apartheid, right? We have different eras. 1652 to 1795 were colonized by the British. We all know, we read in history, the arrival of Jan van Riebeeck. They came with systems that now influenced and shaped the current local government system as we have it, amongst other things that they came with, right? 1910 to 1947, it's what we call the segregation era. And my next slide is now going to focus on that, and I hope you will see why I'm mentioning this later. 1948 to 1993 is now the real apartheid rule, where law is enforced, forcing us as human beings to stay there. If you are black, stay there. If you are white. And then we have 1994, which is now the transition to local government. That has now left us with the current system that we have of local government. So the system of local government that we have was bequeathed, I would like to say, to us by our colonial past as well as the apartheid. Why does it matter? There's a lot of laws that I could have chosen to speak about, but I chose on the special planning ones because I want to focus on the restrictions or controls that the majority of the people in this country, experienced. The fact that you had to stay in a particular area as a black person meant that you had limited access to services. Why is that important? It's because all of us in this room, post-1994, are given a task to redress, to transform local government so that it is a local government that works for everybody, not just for the selected few that it worked for pre-1994. So I hope you will bear with me. I am not going to talk about all the laws, but I just wanted you to have a picture of how deliberate, how intentional the local government of the time was, so that perhaps you can also be influenced to be as deliberate in trying to undo that which they did very well. It's no use crying about, oh, they did that and that, but what do we learn from how the apartheid government system behaved? We had the Native Land Act. I should have taken the mic. We had the Native Lands Act, which of 1913, it restricted the movement of black people by restricting land. You can't own land in a certain area if you are black. At some point, black people only had access to 7% of the land in their country, and the rest was owned by the minority. To which extent that has now changed is interesting because not much has changed, right? And we're not making political statements here. We are talking facts that are essential. In 1936, then that percentage changes slightly in that as black people now, we have 13% access to the land. The government of apartheid regulated the black presence in municipal areas. Municipalities could demarcate African locations only on the outskirts. Yes, please, thank you. Only on the outskirts of the cities. What does it mean? It means today people still have to spend a lot of money traveling to get to their workplaces. What I'm describing as in something that happened in 1936, we still see the impact of that in the present-day local government. In 1927, the so-called governor had special powers to evict black people from land on the grounds of public interest. What are we doing currently as a country? We have the Expropriation Act that has now gotten every one of us talking, even Trump intervening in our affairs, because we are trying to fix what happened in 1927. People were evicted from their land on the ground of public interest. Why is this important? Why is all these slides, the two slides? You can read for yourself if Sikfaro will share with you. It is to show that you have a responsibility in local government. Constitution came in 1994 to try and transform now how things were done. If you look at the preamble, as a public sector official, CEO, I did not know that I didn't know the Constitution until I started working in Stellenbosch. What I knew was Section 152 of the Constitution, which talks about local government. I could sing to you certain sections of the MFMA. I could tell you the principles of cooperative governance, Section 41. But all that we have to do really in the public sector lies in Chapter 2 of the Constitution, and that is the Bill of Rights. You could start off with a preamble if you want, because the preamble sets the tone for everything else that we need to be doing. Intern, young professional up to senior management. And so you are lucky as an intern. I was thinking as the former speaker was speaking that if I had access to her when I was younger, perhaps I would have been a Bathoy now, because my dream was to be the head of the NPA when I was younger. But I have no regrets with where I've landed. If I had access to such speakers that the Sikfaro is availed to you, I would probably be a very famous person. So take advantage of these opportunities, because not everyone has access to them. So if you look at the Constitution, we normally go straight to a relevant section, but I challenge you today to start with a preamble. It's not enforceable legally, but it gives you context. You know, we wanted to heal the past injustices that I have explained. There's 2 slides that I was referring to about the apartheid laws. It's not enough. There was more, but I focused on those that restricted the movement of Black people from area A to B. I was talking about those that restricted us from owning land, because land is important to Black people. And the land that we have now is similarly the land we had then. It determines the type of level of service that we are going to get. Where you stay determines the quality of services that you are going to get. If I go to my grandmother's place, I have to buy water, because I otherwise have to get it from the river or standpipe that is shed in the village. But the water from that standpipe I cannot drink. But the water from Durban, I can just get water from the tap and I can drink. So you can't convince me that we do not offer differing service levels to our communities. And that is not how the Constitution has envisaged it. It was changed, but we still have a lot to do. Go also read the founding values. You will then see that they enshrine human dignity, equality, non-racialism, and foundational values that set the standard for all local government actions. That is why you are here. You are either in local government or part of the public sector. What I have on my slide now doesn't speak to local government only, it speaks to the public sector in general. Being mindful of time, but please go to the Bill of Rights, because it talks about what everyone in this country is entitled to. And it uses the word everyone. Watch carefully. It doesn't say citizens, because there's a legal association to the term citizens. It says everyone has access to. Everyone has access to. Who gives access to water? In the main, it's our municipalities. So everything in chapter 2 has changed how I view the role of the public sector. We always focused on compliance, but really, if you want to know why you are in the public sector, go to chapter 2 of the Constitution. I'm multitasking. Go to the white paper as well of local government. It's under review. I can't remember where I got that from, but I really liked how they're explaining what is currently happening. The white paper on local government is under review for a number of reasons. I think many of us are happy. I'm not sure if Treasury is going to be happy with the focus on the funding model for local government. That needs to be changed. But there's too much empirical evidence now that shows us that perhaps some of those assumptions are no longer relevant. Local government just needs to be remodeled somehow. So how are we doing then 31 years later? We still have high unemployment levels. I got this from somewhere in the NDP. South Africa remains spatially divided. We haven't done a lot to address some of those past horrific decisions that the apartheid government took. We have the laws, but we have not yet managed. Is it a lack of a will? Or what? Specifically on planning, I'm not an expert on the Constitution, but I had problems with planning because I had mentioned that I have interest in special planning. You have exclusive powers over municipal planning as local government. But the apartheid local government was subservient, meaning they had no autonomy, yet they successfully executed special segregation. So what are we doing wrong? Because now we've given local government powers. Local government now can challenge national government. So it's the opposite of what happened in the past. In the past, national government dictated what should happen at local government, and what national government said goes. But now, and it's not a political issue, if you tell if government tries, national government tries to tell local government anywhere in the province what to do, they can be challenged, specifically on planning. There's lots of case law, but I didn't think it was relevant for this exercise, where Concord has confirmed that the municipal planning is an exclusive function of local government. So we now have a local government that can challenge national government. So no, we're not going to do that. We have different priorities in this province. We have a government that has infrastructure that's poorly located and inadequate, limiting social inclusion. I do not know what's the difference between what I see now in my country and what was in apartheid. Yes, there's a lot of differences, but there are certain fundamental issues that we have not dealt with. The issues that you in this room are hopefully going to deal with, even if it's in the next 5 years, 10 years, if you dream as an intern that one day you'll be an MM, that will, in their municipality, ensure that some of the issues that we are raising here, have been changed. The functions here, I'm aware that they're not local government function, but local government has a role, because I'm talking about public sector. Certain things we're also responsible for: corruption that undermines state legitimacy, and service delivery, because when money now does not go to where it's supposed to go, then what happens to service delivery? Standards are compromised, or there's no service delivery at all. So we cannot not talk about some of the problems that we create in local government. I had now forgotten where I read this, but I read that the AG reported over 186 billion in the past decade was lost to I can't say the acronym. That one, UIFWE. You can, many times local government has argued to say, yeah, but even if it's irregular, services were rendered, services were delivered. But you now ought to be careful, because the courts are saying, hold on, services were delivered, but you flouted processes, and we shall hold you personally liable. So we can no longer get away now with saying, justifying irregular expenditure. We cannot normalize things that are not normal. Irregular expenditure means you have done something wrong, you didn't follow the laws. I hope that the people that are in this room are going to shy away from that and be part of the solution, because we can reduce this irregular expenditure. Health sector is also ailing. It is not coping with the demands. We may blame our neighbors from other countries and all, but we've always had a problem, if we are to be honest with ourselves. I had mentioned that these are not functions of local government, so I was just speaking to the public sector in general. The landscape, the role, the rationale for public sector internships. This is now why I was asked to speak. I apologize that I took so long with the background, but it is important sometimes. History can give us the context. History can help us with a sense of urgency, understanding where we need to go by understanding where we come from, because we have a painful past that can be addressed by everyone in this room, either now or at some point later in their lives. So interns in municipalities, they spend in various domains. You find them in finance, finance by treasury. I think it was called the FMG. I'm not sure if it's still the same. Infrastructure. And then in infrastructure, when I was in corporate services, I wouldn't really say it was internship, but it was sort of like a compulsory for them to finish their degrees in engineering. But I think it's part of the mentoring that is required. ICT, planning and governance. So internships ought to address youth unemployment somehow, and skills gap, not the capacity gap, in municipalities. You cannot not be filling a position because you are going to be using interns. Yes, they need the jobs, they are desperate, but you don't use them to address capacity gaps within the municipality because they need to grow as well as individuals. They bridge the gap between, therefore, the academia, what they've studied, as well as the workspace requirements. Because what we learn in university, when you actually get to work, you find, sometimes I can't even use that. Why did I study this? I am so glad I was not good in maths, because I do not know what value maths add in my life now, because I still can't solve for X, for instance. So, the interns, the interns really bridge that gap. We need to assist them to bridge that gap and prepare them for a career, either in the sector, the public sector, or at least somewhere, because the public sector can't employ everybody, unfortunately. I read somewhere, I read and then I forget, because I think I'm getting older as well, that the South African wage bill is that time. Something keeps pinging. Is it time? How much time do I have left? The South African wage bill is apparently one of the highest in the world. So we can't expect the government to be employing everybody. Government should rather be creating opportunities for economic growth so that these interns and any other person that is looking for a job can get employment opportunities. So let's structure their journey, in a planned, strategic manner, manage their program offerings so that we can give them that practical experience, that mentorship and exposure to a real world that they will be exposed to when they start working. Despite some of the policies and the frameworks, however, there are still some challenges when it comes to how we manage the interns. So let's deal with some of the inefficiencies. We are lacking in terms of mentoring and coaching. Even though many interns found the internship programs beneficial, they felt that mentorship and coaching was lacking and could have been strengthened to provide a more structured guidance and skill development. I forgot to mention that this area is not well researched. I found as I was preparing for this area of internships and how well they are doing. The focus is on the public sector, but only for doctors. So I couldn't find a lot of work when it comes to generally public sector interns. So this research was done by some employees in the NSG. I don't know if the NSG is here, so that is the only relevant thing I could find. Oh, wow. I hope I'm not representing your study. And then they found that some of the respondents noted a need for enhanced training to better equip them for future employment. In my area of work, Chair, I find a lot of interns being sent to, what is it called, minimum competencies training, and a whole lot of other trainings that we offer as a university. So I think that the employers are improving in that regard, because the study is 5 years old, if I'm not mistaken. There was also some issues in terms of performance management, post-internship employment opportunities, which is a problem for everyone. Unfortunately, you can't, as an employer as well, employ every intern that you get. I was talking to a colleague last night to say it's almost like EPWP, right? You have to be here for, Baibiza, ugwebindlala kwaZulu. That's what I learned when I was here. Ugwebindlala. So every family should be exposed to that opportunity so that nalo family igwebindlala. So if you are an intern and you expect to be appointed for 2 years, 3 years, then those that are still graduating, you are blocking their opportunities. Unfortunately, that is just how it works. Employability then remains a challenge, and it is not a public sector problem. These are some of the sectoral difficulties that are common across the sector. There's a lack of clear expectation between the mentor and the mentee. There's limited access to mentors because of time. We claim we do not have time, but I think we can make time. In my life, I've successfully mentored 2 people. One of them is an admitted attorney of the High Court. The other one I saw on LinkedIn that, oh, she's doing so well, working for a law firm called Decker and something. And to see that, and you know that you contributed just a little in shaping this person's career, I think you will find it rewarding rewarding. So please make time and mentor someone. You make time. There's 24 hours in a day, I always argue. There's also a mismatch in goals in terms of what the intern expects versus what the mentor can offer. The fear of asking for help as well with interns. I don't know how you're going to learn if you are afraid to ask. Limited networking opportunities was identified as a challenge as well, but I think that Sigfaro is doing very well in bridging that gap because most of you are here now, so be grateful for that opportunity. I've mentioned time constraints, managing the guidance and independence, and managing expectations of interns. I can't manage your expectations if you do not share them with me. This is your journey, but I am helping you to get to where you need to go. So tell me what you want from me. Tell me where you are heading, or where do you wish to end up in the end. Then, of course, cultural and generational differences. When I left employment, they were starting to call me Dimam, so I was like, yo, Dimdala, then let me leave. But that can also, affect the relationship that you have with interns. I mean, we are African. You have to be a little bit respectful. You can't call me by my name, man. You know, you can't, don't do that. We are Africans. We are not in parliament where Umalema, was it Malema that was telling the speaker that, hey, we are colleagues here. Try and be respectful to your mentor. I think you will get the best out of them if you try that approach. How much time do I have, Chair? So am I on African time? Okay. I'm going to skip some of the slides. They are available for you if you need them. When you are in the public sector, do expect a diverse work environment. Do expect to be exposed to policies, to guidelines. It's a highly regulated environment, and it will not harm you to read. Do expect to be engaged. The previous speaker was talking about reading, amongst other things, that don't spend a day without reading or something. In research, we say if you cannot go to bed without brushing your teeth, why go to bed without writing a page? So read. Familiarize yourself with what is happening in your municipality. When you are asked to make copies, if there are still people that are asking interns to make copies, make an extra one for yourself and read what that is about. That is a way of learning as well. Instead of moaning and complaining that, oh, I'm being made to make copies. Do you know what is in that? You can learn something from there. I am not encouraging the behavior, but I'm trying to say, use every opportunity, every aspect that you are not happy with as a learning opportunity. You will be exposed to the corruption trap, whether by default or whether by choice. Navigate carefully around that space. Navigate those ethical dilemmas. You know what's right or wrong. There's certain things that we know as human beings without being taught. So navigate carefully. CEO was saying trend carefully. I then say thread carefully around those spaces, because at the end of it all, you only have your name, you only have your reputation to protect. These things have a way of following you. Find a nice way, I learned from a colleague, of learning when to draw the line. Even at this young age, said, boss, this one is beyond my pay grade. Respectfully, find a way of drawing that line. You will deal with resource constraints because funds are limited in the public sector. Treasurer will tell you all the time, the pie is shrinking. You will deal with political intervention that is disguised as political, what do they call it? Okay, so you will deal with political interference, pardon me, that is often disguised as political intervention. The laws are very clear. Stay away from that space, especially at this level. You have got no business entertaining politicians. Do not rely on your association with politicians. Rely on what you know, rely on what you've learned at school, rely on what the law says. And if it gets too much, have a buffer as your boss or someone. But the relationship with politicians doesn't last long. It's not sustainable because they will change. So rely on what you know rather. I saw Lucas from Salga. Public distrust is something that can demotivate you as well. I mean, there were times when I would be afraid to admit that I work for local government. The image that has been painted of the local government system is quite bad. So be aware that you will be associated with that, even though when you know you are always on the right. You will experience burnout. Try and manage and balance your work. Institutional dynamics are always going to be there, whether public sector or whatever. Don't rely on alliances. Just respect protocols. Don't rely on alliances with this and that person. No one is going to stay forever in an institution. Should I do this? I'm doing very bad with time, so now I'm trying to see which one should I skip. Can I please skip that? But it is important strategies for you to succeed, from thriving to succeed. There's things that you can do, things that are within your control. Cultivate first that professionalism. No one will teach you that. If you don't know how to be professional, follow someone in the organization. Find a mentor in the organization. There are people that will model a behavior that you aspire for. Familiarize yourself with the Batupele principles, your constitutional values, Section 195. Your King 4 report, I believe there's 5 that is coming underway, because when you are unsure, the law is always going to be there to guide you. Regulations are always going to be there to guide you. We'll go to then the last 2 slides. I did horribly in terms of time. Here, if you can perhaps just focus on the quote that be careful what you do because your actions become your habits. Be careful what you make a habit because your habit becomes your character, and your character becomes your destiny. So watch out, protect your character, protect your name, protect your reputation, because you are still young, you've got a long way to go. And I said these things have a way of following you. Nothing, local government is huge, 257 municipalities, but nothing goes unhidden. It goes hidden forever in the sector. I borrowed this slide from SAIC. For me, it was a reason for remaining optimistic in local government. Please read it. But there's some good that they are acknowledging at a SAIC level, that there are still some municipalities that have clean audits. So let us acknowledge the good. There's reasons to be optimistic. Focus on the positive in local government and make sure that you are part of the positive change. Then there's another second slide here again, SAIC emphasizing the need for internship. They're saying that, most importantly, we need to mentor young graduates so that they are able, we need to mentor young graduates to be able to do the same, meaning when you are mentored as well, you'll be able to mentor others. Yeah, my last slide, closing. Yeah. 1 minute. This is where I really wanted to get to, that your journey from surviving to thriving is underpinned by that understanding of that history I have given you. If you forget anything else that I have said, just remember the painful history that we have as a country and your role, your potential in changing that. We have millions of people in South Africa that are still waiting for government, for us to do the right thing. To mentors, interns are not just fulfilling posts or gaps that you have in the organization. They are foundation of a transformed, ethical, and service-driven public sector. Make sure you mentor them and you nurture them towards that direction. And there's a lot of ways you can do that. You can model their behavior, amongst other things that you can do. And then to the interns and the young professionals, internships are not your waiting room. Now we model the behavior that I want to see in an employee. You can't come to work dressed in a jean that is torn, your knees are showing, and you know, they say you dress the way you want to be addressed. Model the behavior that you want to be here, that you are a professional. You're not young anymore once you enter that working space. So do not do foolish things that will make us question your commitment to the organization, that will make us question your professionalism. Even if they give you that job after that 12 months internship, do not change. Always try and remain professional, because that's not your waiting room. You are there. Take it as if this is my job. This is where I can grow. Public sector needs ethical, thoughtful, and courageous professionals. You have a potential. Every one of us in this room has a potential. It needs you to step in that space with integrity, with purpose, and commitment to serve, and not to be served. We are not there to be served by citizens. We are there to serve them. You are the future of the public service. Your energy, your ideas, your tech savviness, your ethics will shape what we are now criticizing in the public sector in its entirety. There's hope. So lead with confidence. And being a leader does not mean you have to occupy a very senior position in the municipality. She has already covered that. Be that leader now, even as an intern. We will see, hey, this one is different. We might act like we don't have time for you, but we can see. We know who's committed. We know who we can rely on. And lastly, but not least, may your journey in the sector, in the regime, in the engine room, be not just be about your survival. Yes, your survival is important, but about building a legacy of ethical, impactful leaders for the benefit of the majority of South Africans that I have discussed were impacted by this painful past that we have. May you always be part of the solution. Thank you so much, and I'm sorry. And if you want to develop yourself, you can approach us as a School of Public Leadership in Stellenbosch. Apologies, Chair.
Just stay up for a little while. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you, Dr. Kaywood. I'm going to call...